What is up? Happy New Year. I haven't been on in I think about a month, but I hope everyone has had a wonderful holiday and I hope that 2026 has been good to you thus far. I am doing well. Make sure you guys can hear me. Turn my volume up. I am doing well and I hope you are doing well also. Okay, so today I wanted to come on and speak about the importance of recognizing that there really is no separation between corporations and government. They are equal. And when you hear businesses or leaders say that they don't want to speak about politics or to stay out of politics, that is something that corporations cannot do. That is something that corporations are always doing, because if we really want to focus on the understanding of how businesses operate, they operate through the alliance with government. So when leaders say that they don't get involved in politics and that they want to be neutral, that is a lie. And that's something that I really want to focus on today, and the understanding that that is a lie, because it must be understood that corporations spend millions and billions of dollars on lobbyists every single year. Lobbyists are people that corporations pay in people that corporations pay to go to Capitol Hill and to go and lobby and speak with politicians on their behalf to vote in their best interest for a specific corporation based on a specific law that may be passed or preventing a law to be passed, anything of that nature. So when you hear corporations say that they want to stay out of politics, that is not true. And if you are following everything that's currently going on with the current administration and how it is heavily aligned with corporations, you would understand exactly what I'm trying to say. So that means that if we want to ensure that we're creating a better workforce and better opportunities for us as people within the workspace and people within corporations, we have to make sure that our interests are always put first and foremost at the table, and that we as humans and as people and as employees are always the focus of any strategic decision or strategic objective or strategic approach that a corporation is looking to take. That is first and foremost. That is, you can't get away from that. That is something that has to be done. And with that being said, it's like, how do you go about doing that? First, you have to first understand how why these businesses are doing this. Of course, they're going about it for their best interest, but it's also from the profit first mindset instead of the people first mindset. So that means that we as humans are getting lost within the boardroom. Our ideas, what we need for us to be successful within the workplace, those things are not being brought to the forefront. That's because humans, we as individuals within the workspace, we need to make sure that we are being recognized as those that are the key to profits within a business. Yes, us as humans. And that means that we have to be the ones to look at ensuring that we're holding our managers accountable specifically. And I know a lot of people may get slack when I say that, because if they're in a management position, and statistics have shown that managers really are in a struggle type situation right now, because they can't even get what they need to ensure that employees can perform effectively. So they're like this liaison that's like swimming, trying to get things fixed, but can't get it fixed because leaders don't want to fund what is necessary for employees to be successful. So it's just a very interesting thing, especially depending on the type of corporation or business that you're working in. And that starts also with us, as I said before, being advocates within the business. Change will only occur if we do not speak up from the lower levels and have it trickle up. We're so focused on everything trickling down that we forget that the voice of the human is what of and the lower level employee, that human. So when I say human, that's what I'm speaking on. We as humans, because we already know the big push is for AI. You see all the layoffs that are going on. Those layoffs are more targeting toward building in new infrastructures focused on AI and new technologies versus hiring from a human aspect. Even though there is always going to be a human aspect, the idea is to look toward this future mindset that we will not require more humans. I want to thank everybody for that's saying hello. Let me stop first and foremost. Hello. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys are doing well. If this is your first time here, welcome. I like to come on and speak about issues impacting us as workers within the workspace and how we as workers can help to strengthen and make opportunities better for everyone. My name is Dr. Lisa, and I'm an HR consultant. So when I say HR, no, I am not the individual that focuses on hiring and firing and all of that. No, I do not do that. I focus on helping to enhance the workforce and making the workforce a better place. I am speaking on the importance right now of how corporations and government are equal. And that specifically is because humans are not at the are the main focus of understanding and recognizing them as the reason for business success. And everything is from a profit first mentality. It's all focused on what the quickest way to make a dollar. Now the understanding is that we're going to invest in AI to do that, instead of recognizing that us as humans are the ones that are able to do that. I mean, there's so much data that shows that how companies are prioritizing the optics of over humanity, and if we continue to remain silent, it helps to avoid this controversy. It allows for all of this controversy to continue, and it also hinders us in being respected within the workplace. That is something. Yeah, that is the understanding that HR works for the company and not you. That is, and that also shows how HR is not operating in the way that it should. And this is one reason why I started my business. I've never worked in corporate. I started out my career, I joined the United States Navy at the age of 15, went into the Navy, got out at 23. The idea was, I'm going to go get a government job. That didn't happen. And then I started my own business. But yes, I agree. HR works for the company and not for you. That is very, very true. But really, HR should be the liaison. It should not work for anyone but what is right for the employee, and of course what is right for the business, and making that happy medium between the two, with the understanding that the individual, the employee, the human is the key to business success. That is the true aspect and understanding of HR. But HR has been institutionalized and turned into this new thing. I mean, we look at SHRM. SHRM is supposed to be the voice of what HR is and what HR represents. But what is SHRM doing now? Fighting off lawsuits. They just lost one lawsuit, I think, for $11 million, and they have another lawsuit that they're currently in litigation for. Now, both of these lawsuits, the first one was for discrimination. And the interesting thing about it was from the CEO, who was also named in the lawsuit. And this is a Black man. And so this shows that just because of race, you can still discriminate against someone else because he discriminated. The findings was that he discriminated, and the company, SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management, discriminated against a woman that worked there and how they were not advancing her in her career, even though she was qualified for the position. And the woman happened to be, I think, Muslim or something like that, Indian or something like that. So it shows that regardless of race or ethnicity, there still can be forms of racism and discrimination. And so I agree with you when it says HR works for the company. So why? But this is a highlight on that as well, and how there's this ideology that's being pushed, especially through associations and affiliations. And these affiliations and associations, they also align with government. And we can bring it back to the Society of Human Resource Management. And the CEO is heavily aligned with the current administration. So how the Society of Human Resource Management is being operated now is different than how it may have been operated before. So it's very interesting, regardless of what you believe politically, how corporations will align and how they will sway based on who is in government. Put on confrontation, there will be no lessons or understanding or comprehension. Okay. It's because immature people are in facilities of institutions with power, but they have very immature personalities and bring their personal lives to work and make it complicated for everyone. I'd have to agree with that. Yes. Everyone forgets that, when you're entering into a workspace, that's what it's for. It's for work. We're not here to make friends. We're not even here to be worried about what somebody looks like, what they doing, who they kissing, who cares? we're here to work, right? And when we're hiring, it's the same thing. So I agree. People bring their own ideologies and personalities into a space. I started out my PhD at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, and then that's when I was diagnosed with leukemia. So then I had to switch to Capella University because I was going through treatment. I finished my degree. Oh my God, when did I finish my degree? After I finished, I blocked it out of my mind. Give me a second. My dissertation was actually 272 pages, believe me or not. I'm one of those women that's just over the top. But I think I finished in I think it was 2018. So December of 2018. And then I did the in-person graduation, which would have been in 2019 down in Orlando, Florida. Uh, where did you get your ragging at? Oh gosh, I have no idea. It's been so long. This is actually just a regular old scarf, you know, a scarf like you wear like a a businesswoman scarf. And I just put it on my hair because I didn't feel like doing my hair, so I put my scarf on. I know I got it probably at TJ Maxx or something because I love TJ Maxx. Uh, that no pages, 272 pages. My dissertation was 272 pages when I wrote my dissertation. Yes. Yes, exactly. The human is the key to a $1 million company, king, cruise, daddy. That is very true. The human. And that's something that we also, and this is also why I have my channel. I know I don't go on as much as I should. I have to do better about that. I'm doing my best. But yes, this is why I like to come on and speak on these types of topics. I do a lot. This is where my work centers, is me bringing a voice to the human within the workspace. That's the most important thing, and something that is necessary, especially in the times that we're in, and everyone recognizing what's truly going on and how what's going on in society affects what's going on in the business. And that also trickles down into what really is accepted and not accepted. Remember, corporations are the main ones that can push legislation and push ideology before really government, because that's where it starts. Because they're the ones that are focused on, what people are buying, what people aren't buying, how people are buying, and based on how they market and brand different things, and then, as many would say, how that impacts society. So it's a lot of things that go into it and shows the importance of just the human, right? We know that when we look at marketing, and when a lot of marketers and advertisers look at those types of statistics, but when it comes to looking at the average HR style, the employee statistics, that always gets lost. For some reason, that always gets lost, as if those numbers don't matter. And for some reason, people act like emotions can't be quantified when they can. So it's a very strange thing when that happens, when we can do it when it comes to marketing and how we brand these $1 billion campaigns and $1 trillion campaigns. But we can't seem to figure that out when we're managing a workforce. And that's something that is very unnecessary and just misaligned, because the human is the key to the profit. So if you're going to be profit first, that means you need to be human first. That's exactly what it means. And it's exactly what it means. And with that, yeah, they only can put some registration if they have enough people to sign legislation. Yes, that is true. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the main thing, where it's boiling all down to um dollars at the end of the day, and that's why it's important for us to understand how to quantify us within the workplace. And that's what I help businesses to do, helping to quantify how we feel, and how we feel has impacted how the business is not profiting. And the information is already there. It's just no one knows how to explain it and knows how to put that dollar value on how you're feeling like shit at the job, and tying that in, because that's where HR misses out, because HR does not align with different departments such as accounting and financing to help have a true understanding of how to quantify those emotions. And That's a sad thing. And that's something that I work on. I do a lot of talking and helping to try to bring awareness about that. But I mean, you can only do but so much, as I mentioned before, because you have these association and affiliations, and even college and how curriculums are designed. And they're dealing with an archaic mindset. This mindset that best practices that we say are best practices are based on our current modern way of working, right? And really, they're not. Companies still don't know how to even regulate remote work or understand how remote work can be beneficial for all, or how some, or the understanding that, of course, some jobs can't be remote and some can be hybrid and vice versa. And then that leans into even looking at how we should be able to have opportunities around the world and not be stifled because of where we live, thanks to technology. And that's where a lot of that best practice thinking gets lost, along with the understanding of the value of human performance and the motivation of performance and all of that, and how that trickles into a business's bottom line. So it's just very interesting. And it also highlights the lack of understanding and awareness, and even the complacency, as we mentioned earlier, of how people just kind of go with the flow and don't speak up. Oh, sorry, let me read it out loud for the people that don't know. Because you're talking to the wrong people, the people that can actually explain it and put it in the right phrase, to make progress that have and undermine, misled, and unachieved in a position to lead. I agree with that. I could agree that, yeah, yeah, there are a lot of people that are, I think, a statistic off the top of my head, with the type of work that I do, because I do HR research and evaluation, what we're speaking about, and I train people on how to do this. And a statistic off the top of my head is, I think it's like 30% of HR professionals, so about 30% that even understand how to evaluate. So when I say evaluate, quantifying all of these things that we're speaking about. Exactly. Everyone's mimicking. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That complacency, the mimicking, and not looking for true leaders. They don't want leaders, really. That's what they want. I mean, if we really want to stay focused on the industrial mindset, it starts with school, right? Sitting at the desk, coming every day, doing this, and keeping you in this robotic mindset. So then you go on to college and you kind of have this freedom, and that's when you're like supposed to be wild and free. And then you got to get back into that mindset of the robotics and go to work day to day, the rat race, you know? And it's kind of like the movie, I'm a big movie buff. Have you heard of the movie They Live? Where everybody's just in this robotic state, and then he puts the glasses on and he can see the aliens, and the aliens are like controlling us based on how money is and society with the news and all that. That's one of my favorite movies. It's called They Live. If you have not heard of it, check that movie out. It's a really good movie. The problem with society is everyone's educated but don't know how to do the work. They like zombies, yes. And when you have a bunch of zombies in one office to become repetitive. Exactly. Exactly. Because, I mean, even down to, I'm thinking, like, people always be like, oh, this could have been a Zoom meeting, right? Because someone to have you come in to do a meeting and they're talking about nothing. Or you're in the Zoom meeting and they're talking about nothing and it could have been an email. A lot of time is wasted because nobody really knows what they're doing. A lot of time is just wasted because people don't know what they're doing, and they're mimicking, and they're just kind of looking over, and they're seeing how other people are operating. And then this repetitive, ignorant cycle of lack of progression for society. I mean, even if we look at how we live, I'm in America, I live in Virginia. I don't know where you guys are, but I've lived all over the world. I've been blessed to do that. And even how we are in America, how we are so behind technologically, and we are so behind based on even how we operate our transportation systems, let alone the education system. But here we view ourselves as being above society. When I say society, I mean the world, viewing it as us being above. But how can we be above when we are at the bottom? But you don't see yourself as at that bottom, because here in America, we all think as one, and no one wants to think outside that box until they go off and travel, right? And then they're like, oh my God, go somewhere like go to like Hong Kong or China or Japan or somewhere like that, and your eyes are open, your nose is open, you're starting to realize, oh my God, we can't do that in America. We don't have that in America. Why don't we have that in America? And that goes back down to what I was saying, where corporations and government are equal, and laws are created a certain way with corporations leaning on and having a say and a sway through lobbyists, and vice versa with government. We see it all the time. And the only way to really, as I was saying, is for us to try to create change within the spaces that we are in, and also starting our own businesses and training other people to think like how we are thinking. Yeah, I agree 100%, King Cruise Daddy. I agree. Yep, no progress will be made. And if we really want to be, if we want to really want to be thinking in a different way, maybe they don't want progress to be made, right? Maybe that's the whole point. If we want to be conspiracy theorists, is that what it's all about, right? Do they want it to be this way? I don't know. I know I'm not trying to let it be this way, so I go about and look to create change. Yes, and it will take you further because it's stability. But when something new or better comes out, everything will fall apart and break down. I agree. I agree. It's all about starting from ground zero. I was thinking about that actually earlier today. Like, how would you even go about that? Like, there's so much that needs to be changed, and there's so much fear, which is also what drove me to come online today. Is so much fear and complacency, and then those that aren't afraid, they're pretty much being killed. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? What does that mean? But of course that is being driven by fear. Of course, I agree with that. And I forgot a statistic that I had seen where it said it was like 1 in 4 people are miserable at their jobs, just miserable overall, just miserable, and hiding their misery, and just moving through this rat race and hoping and praying for change. But we have to remember that we can't just keep hoping and praying. Change doesn't come if we don't act on that blessing that we deserve. That is one thing that we cannot forget. And we also need to continue to speak out to ensure accountability. I think that, yeah. And it takes people like us to continue to speak out, to continue to reach back, and just however, whatever platforms you're on, and just doing what you're doing, what needs to be done. I know I need to be more vocal, and I know I need to be more consistent. And that's one word that I hate. I hate that people say that. Oh, consistent. Oh, you need to be consistent. And I'm like, but not everything happens the way everyone expects it to happen. And that's like when you see people talking about with their businesses and how they operate their businesses, and entrepreneurs or social media content creators. Oh, you need to be consistent. You need to do it. I think everyone needs to operate the way they need to operate, because some people just don't have the capacity to look in the camera every day. They got whatever depressions or whatever they have going on with them. They can't do that. And so I think we all should move about how we need to move about, as long as we're doing it in a smart and an effective way that is actually working and is beneficial. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not going outside. Now, I'm not one to go out and pick it. I have not been one to do that. I'm more of one that creates structure for that type of action. I'm one of those. My body and my capacity, I'm not one to doesn't have the capacity to do all that. Like I just said, I barely can come on the way I need to come on. But when I do come on, I make sure that I'm making an impact in some way. And I think that's what's most important, is that we're leading change and being, a voice for everyone. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and protest, or You know, it could be all about just bringing up discussions within certain spaces, you know, triggering that thought process. Because that's all it takes is a thought. That's all it takes is for someone to speak. And when you're willing to speak, then that's the key to creating change. And that's something that a lot of people are afraid to even do. That first step to speaking, that first step to recognizing that change needs to occur, you know, and change is not just for you, but for other people. And I think that is where the real issue is with everything when it comes to work, society, life in general. Everyone is focused on themselves. I don't care until it starts to affect me, right? Or I'm for this and I hate this. But now I got to jump on the other side because now I'm being affected. Now I'm being affected financially. Now it's starting to hinder me. We could think about this from a Hollywood aspect. We could think about this literally from a Hollywood aspect. When we think about celebrities, we look at them, we see that they're people, right? But we have to remember that a celebrity is a business. They're operating as an LLC. And that's how they're getting paid. So when you see someone, for example, since we're speaking about corporations and government, we'll say Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is her own brand. She is her own entity. And as you see, she once aligned with one side. And now, since she's being impacted with ideologies that she once didn't agree with, but now it was affecting her as far as her immigration status or whatever she's got going on, the rumors of that, right? That she had to align and jump ship for the other side because, as they said, she had to look out for herself. Now, is that something that's beneficial? Is that for everyone? How does that impact everyone? Especially when we don't know where we're going, right? But that's an example of how corporations and government are aligned and equal, right? When you look at Hollywood and then you look at government, it is one and the same. Regardless of what you believe, you'll have celebrities when they win their Oscar or win their award, whatever they win, they go up and they give their political view. That is an example of how corporations and government are connected. That's an example and a way of aligning how people think and aligning with where they want things to go. I think that's a good example to help break that down a little bit clearer. Yeah, exactly. And it's all to sway thinking. So we all have free will and we have the right to believe whatever we want to believe. But what I believe is that we all deserve a living wage. I believe that we all deserve to be treated with respect and be supported within the workplace, especially if I'm helping a corporation to drive millions. Now we're moving into trillions the way corporations are operating. So I deserve to be treated respectfully and to be paid fairly. And that's what it's all about. That's the bottom line. And that's really where I'm at with it. Regardless of what you believe, humans matter. We deserve to be respected. We deserve to be paid fairly. And we deserve to be having a living wage. And we deserve that we are invested in regardless of where the corporation chooses to shift and align the business. If they're looking to add in more technology, but you need more oversight and things like that. We should be looking to not fire people, but retrain people. And that's what it should be all about. And that's just one thing that I think that needs to be understood. But other than that, I think I gave some good examples today. And I think that hopefully my live today has triggered some thoughts. I've been on for literally 29 minutes. I said I wasn't going to come on that much longer because my goal is to try to come on every day. And I really mean that. I want to try to come on every day, so especially since we're in 2026. My daughter's graduating high school this year. So the goal is to already build the momentum to come on every day, even if I'm just recording her at her swim meet. Because if you haven't checked out my last live, that's what that live was. Because I'm a swim mom, I'm a momager, so that's what I'd be doing if I'm not working. But I look forward to doing these talks again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join my family. I want to grow a family here. I know I I got to put more work into building the family, but that's something that I'm really, really wanting to do now that I'm about to be an empty nester. So I just really appreciate you guys for coming on and talking. King, Cruise Daddy, I hope to see you next time. I remember you coming in last time. I remember you in one of my lives, my past lives. I remember you coming in. So I'm just glad to see you. All right, guys, I'm gonna go now. I promise I will come back tomorrow. I promise. Okay. All right. Until then, love yourself and others. Bye.